Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Steve Lacy.
I forgot what episode this is. Does anybody know?
3-something.
326, maybe? I don't remember. Sorry.
I don't know.
You're on your own.
We're getting into the muscle car numbers here eventually.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, 327 pretty soon here.
Yeah.
I had a Jeep with a 327 in it one time. So welcome, everybody. My name is Phil Thompson. He is Steve Lacy. Steve, I reached a milestone today.
What was that?
I was able to get into a pair of jeans that I have not been able to get into for like 4 or 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick because you haven't been doing your thing for, but only this is the third week or so?
Oh, no. It's been 35 days, 30,
Oh, okay.
30. This is day 36. I'm counting my carbs. I did this years
Not
ago.
Your carbs, your calories.
My calories. You're right. Yeah. I'm counting my calories. I did this about, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago and lost close to 20 pounds. And I don't know if I want to really lose 20 pounds, but I was hoping to lose at least 11 or 12. And I've lost 11, I think. And I was able to get into the pants. And I've got people that know I'm doing this are just mocking me saying, you don't need to lose weight. Why are you doing this? And I'm not obese, but I couldn't get in this. There's a couple pairs of pants I couldn't get into. And I had to wear some pants back in February for something. And if anybody knows me, I don't wear pants. We're in Arizona, we're in Tucson. I'm wearing shorts. I'm lucky if I have a flannel shirt on. This is a flannel shirt. I don't really need it on today, but I have it on because it's a little chilly in the mornings. But I don't want to go out and buy new pants because, you're going to continue to gain weight if you don't do something about it, right?
Yeah,
so then you keep buying new pants every year, every 6 months. And so I thought, this is ridiculous. So I started counting calories and I've lost some weight. I feel pretty good about myself. I'm going to keep going for a while.
You're a model.
Well,
you're a model and I did the same thing not long after you started doing the same thing. Was that several years? Because I spent most of my life trying to gain weight.
Right.
So I really struggled to put on the pounds until I turned 40 something. Yeah. And then it came natural. So
yeah, exactly. So I just want to wear, it's nice not to have a huge gut, but the bottom line for me was I just want to wear stuff I bought and not have to replace it, So, and the also nice thing about counting calories is you become kind of mindful of what you're eating,
Oh yeah.
So you're not just slamming stuff down and not thinking about it. You're thinking, okay, I got to be a little careful here.
Yeah, I remember going through it, and then you record them all day long, and you get to the end of the day, you're like, man, I want one of those Reese's peanut butter cups. And you go look, and you're like, I can't have one till tomorrow. I'm gonna save room for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's hard. So anyhow, all right. So what are we talking about today on our wonderful podcast?
We are talking 5 easy ways to improve the audio of your church's live stream.
5 easy ways to improve the audio. There's probably much more than 5, but we thought we would talk a little bit about this. By the way, I want to say this right off before we get into the topic here. I want to extend my condolences to Johnny Wyatt's family. Johnny Wyatt, we had him on here. Actually, if you look in January of our podcast, I think it's called The Story Continues, and is it a 30-minute interview with Johnny Wyatt? We've had him on here before. He was 80 years old. He passed away of cancer. And we actually talked to him about his health. He knew he had stage 4 cancer when we talked to him back in, it was late December, but it was published in January. And so we want to extend our condolences to his family. He passed away this past weekend. And if some of you know who Johnny is, some of you don't, but he was somebody that's been around for a long time and in areas of church and even helping churches. After he retired from doing ministry and music ministry, he actually started his own little company to help churches and businesses in the area of marketing. So our hearts go out to Johnny's family.
Yep. One of my favorite people.
Yeah, really good. It was a good podcast too. So catch that. It was in January of this year. All right, so back to our topic here, audio. So I've maintained this, and I think other people will agree with me. What's most important in your streaming video? It's audio. I believe audio is most important in your streaming video. Now, video is obviously very important, but if you have really great video, but your audio stinks, guess what? People are not going to be sticking around. It's a painful experience. But if you have really good audio, or audio that's certainly passable, that's good, your video doesn't have to be super crystal clear. People will hang around, they'll watch, they'll get something out of it. But if you just don't have good audio, adios amigos. People will not hang around.
Yeah, lots of people focus on the video first, but the audio is really more important. We got, I was babysitting for my son recently, just this week, and my wife and I, after the kids were all in bed, we turned on actually a show that we watched together, and I had to Chromecast it because I was over at my son's house. And the audio was just, we couldn't figure it out. It was just, we were having to turn it up really loud to figure it. And it's a, television production thing. It just didn't sound right. And it was lagging. It was also, I don't know if this is because of the Chromecast deal, but it made it, you normally, if everything's going well, it's kind of like the thing we talk about with sound guys. If no one notices, that means you did a really good job. If something happens, everyone turns around and goes, "Oh my gosh, this guy's really messed up." So it was one of those deals where we watch the show all the time, don't ever think about sound quality, but we could not understand it, and it was just kind of muffled. And
yeah. So the good news is today, equipment is really pretty reasonable out there. All sorts of equipment. And so that's our first point when it comes to having good audio, ways to get good audio, simple ways. The first point is invest in good equipment. Now this includes not just audio stuff, but cameras. And the nice thing about it today is even consumer grade cameras. I know we're talking about audio today, but consumer grade camcorders today are really pretty good. And so if you want to start off, you can get some consumer grade equipment. Just look around a little bit, be careful, but you can get some good equipment to do streaming video, and you can get some good audio equipment. You don't have to pay a fortune for it.
Yeah, there's, I think Samsung's kind of following the lead of Apple. Apple's done these commercials where they put on there completely filmed on the iPhone 12, right. And I just saw one that was completely filmed at night on an Android, on a Samsung phone. So. And that's network quality stuff, or it passes as network quality. And it just comes from a cell phone with a dinky little lens on it. Right. So yes, you can. The quality's really gone up and the prices have come down. So
we do recommend. We have people ask us all the time because we do streaming video. That's our main gig around here. We do have people asking, well, can I stream using, can I put a live encoder on my camera, on my phone, my iPhone or whatever Android phone? And we say, yeah, you can do that. They make live encoders. But the biggest issue with that is the audio. But you can get around that as well, because you could probably connect something to your phone to get better audio, I would think. But wouldn't you say that or not?
I don't think so. There is no mic in on your your phone, so you're not. And the other big problem is there's no Zoom. So most churches are putting a camera, at the back of the sanctuary, and so, or it's a digital Zoom, which is not nearly as good as an optical Zoom. So if you're filming filming a commercial at night and everybody's right in front of you, and then you can pull it off. They didn't mention whether the audio. I know the audio wasn't, because it's all piped in audio for the commercials. Right. So maybe the video was captured, but I doubt the audio was done.
Well, and that's just that's an extra bonus here to this podcast is you can stream with your camera, your mobile device, but you better figure out a way to get good audio, because that's usually the drawback. So all right, so anyhow, investing, and again, when we talk, and we've talked about this before, but I say invest, and not just buy, but invest, because if you do get something, you are investing. If you spend a little bit of money, if you can do it, you see it as an investment for your church, and it will pay off in the long run.
All right. So number 2, is monitor the audio.
Monitor the audio. You'd be surprised how many people don't do this when it comes to streaming video.
Yeah.
And it's a little, I understand it's a little tricky to do because, and when I say monitor, what I'm saying here is actually monitor the stream. Yes. Although you should definitely monitor what's coming into your switcher or what's coming into your mixer. You should monitor that in real time. When you do streaming video, there is a delay. And that's where I think people get discouraged and they don't listen.
Yeah. And the biggest challenges are it's either way too low where you can barely hear it with your speakers turned all the way up, or it's completely overdriven. And those are just super easy things that you'll catch if you're going to the end of the road here, which is where the stream ends up on the phone or the web or wherever it may be. And we have lots of new churches that are new to streaming, and it's more than not, it seems like it's overdriven where they've turned the gain way too high. And so everything is distorted and blasting.
Right. Yeah. Very distracting. And so again, when you actually listen to the stream, it's the industry standard is going to be about a 40 to 60 second delay. And nobody, if you're in the church, you don't know that, but so it's not a big deal. But if you're trying to monitor the audio, you have to make small adjustments and then listen, sit there and be patient for 40 seconds or so and see what kind of an adjustment, see how that worked. And if you need to continue to make adjustments, you make little adjustments and then continue to listen, because you're going to have a delay if you're listening to the live stream. And so it does take patience. It does take some attention to detail. Mark Small over there at a live church, one of the best at doing that, I think. Tony Harrison's good too. But I know Mark always did a great job when he was monitoring the sound on streaming.
And they have, in their setup, they have a switch that says, I want to listen to the live stream, as everyone else hears it, and they'll switch over to that. And then they also have, headphones listening to the incoming audio to make sure that, and or their outgoing audio, because at our place we mix the audio for the web separately than the house. So.
Yeah. So they listen to it in real time, and then the streaming time is a little bit different. All right. So monitor the audio. I mean, really take some time to do this. And
And the other thing is do it on, if you can afford to, do it on several devices. Pull out your phone, see what it sounds like there.
Yeah.
You got a decent set of speakers on your computer. Let's see what it sounds like there.
Yeah. The devil's in the details is an old saying, no pun intended, but it's really true. If you can just pay attention to some of those details, it will make a world of difference for the people watching your video. The experience will be so much better when you really take the time out to tweak it. And then also, keep an eye on it too, because things do change depending on who's on the platform speaking, what's going on at the time. If there's music, if there's somebody else getting up to talk that's maybe different than the pastor, all that stuff, there's changes, in volume because of the different things happening on the stage. At the podium. And so you really got to pay attention to that. And it's not hard. You just have to do it.
Yes. All right. So number 3 on our list.
Number 3.
Mic placement is critical.
Microphone placement is critical. So, there's lots of different microphones out there. I would recommend using some kind of a, not necessarily. So you have lapel, and then you have what's the one that hangs from your ear, Steve? I can't think off the top of my head. You have lapel that generally is referred to as something you clip on your collar,
right?
And then there's the type that kind of hangs down from your ear, like with the ear and the mouthpiece. Yeah. What's that called? I can't think of it. Somebody will tell us later, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Those the good ones that are hanging down from your head, from your ear, those are expensive. Especially if they're remote, especially if they're, if they're not really connected to a long cable. I'm using some really technical terminology here, right? So
typically there's a small box that's worn on their
Yeah,
belts in
it's
behind them or some other place.
The signal, radio signal is what it is.
That the mic goes to. There is a cord from the headset to the, or a headset mic would be good. What you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a technical term for it. Anyhow, but so those things are usually the best because when the speaker is moving around, he's turning left and right. It's hanging down and it's right in front of his mouth or close to his mouth. So it's consistent, is what I'm getting at. The sound's consistent. The level's usually consistent. If they're lapel mics, which hang down usually around your collar, they're probably okay as long as you can tweak them and tune them in really good, and you're working good with them, and those are probably the next best thing. But then the other microphones are the ones you have on a stand, and you got a stand and it sits there in front of the person. That can be problematic in the sense that if the person gets up and walks around and doesn't take the microphone with them, then you got some problems there. If the mic placement is not where it should be, if it's too far away, and then you're going to get issues with the sound, feedback, audio problems with that. If it's too close, that can be problematic as well. So microphone placement, or even I could even add to this point, the type of microphone is very critical. And, again, we talked about doing things on a budget, but if you can get something like a lapel mic or something that's a headset mic, which is more expensive, but if you can do that, that's an investment, and that will be really good and much easier. The problem with mic placement is if somebody's walking around they're holding a handheld mic and they're walking around, and it's possible you could get feedback depending on where your main speakers are placed, your house speakers. And so sometimes you get feedback, and your sound person really has to stay on top of things.
Yeah, and we didn't include in this list, but it goes without saying, sound check. So do your sound check prior to the service. Yeah, I served at church last weekend, and we completely experienced every problem you can during the run through, and then the service went flawless, which is kind of, it's usually the other way around. The run through's flawless, and then the wheels fall off during the service. But we had the wheels fall off during the run through, which was challenging because they have a clock set for the run through, and they want the band to go through all their songs and rehearse and practice and all that stuff. Right. And we found that everything went wrong, so we were running out of time. So yeah.
So you're right. I mean, a run through definitely is, a sound check is good. And I should have probably put that on the list, but very simple sound check. Make sure. And when we say sound check, this is another bonus to our notes here. By the way, you can find our notes, but just go on the blog.streamingchurch.tv. The bonus is sound check. Yeah. Sound check everything. I mean, we used to do that where I was at. We would make the guy who's speaking or the gal that's speaking get up and do a sound check before the service,
and music. Walk to where they're going to walk, and whatever that may be, kind of do a full-on rehearsal of that. So you experience everything, what it's like when I stand in front of these house speakers over here. So
right. And look, I know, especially if you're a volunteer listening to this, I know it's hard to reel these people in. I mean, I understand it's hard to get the senior pastor to get out there and do this before the service starts, because he or she is involved in other things, and your musicians are busy doing things, but it's real important to do this stuff. And I know it's a challenge, but if you can begin to do it on a regular basis, then it can become, part of what you do Sunday mornings, and everybody expects it, knows it, and they're there early enough to do a sound check, and life is much better than if you didn't.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. Number 4.
It's your favorite.
Yeah, check for background noise.
Check for background noise. Anybody hear any background noise right now? Let's listen.
They do.
I don't hear anything.
Well, if you listen, if you have a keen ear, you'll see that we have some background noise. But and ask someone to do a critique of your audio to get a fresh pair of ears listening. So you want to get somebody that can listen through whatever the background noise may be.
Yeah. So what we're alluding to earlier, what Steve is doing, this is Steve's pet peeve, is I have a fountain here in my office, and we're doing this. We've been doing these podcasts now, even before the pandemic using Skype or Zoom or something. So Steve's in his office across town here in Tucson. I'm in mine, and I have a water fountain, and sometimes you hear it and sometimes you don't. And I guess you hear it now. I can hear it myself.
Yeah.
I don't know, but so I don't think it's a big deal. He does. And so but getting back to church stuff, there's sometimes there can be things happening that we get so used to it, like I am with my water fountain. You get so used to it that it's oblivious. It's like, you walk in, there's a stain on the carpet. Well, you see that stain on the carpet every week and you just kind of forget about it. A new person walks in and right away they see the stain on the carpet. Well, it's the same way with your audio issues. You get used to hearing the door slamming or somebody's going in and out, and the hinges need some oil or something.
That's kind of our next, but this one's kind of about the hum of electronics. When you power everything up, you hear this,
right?
Or even just other sounds. The AC is coming on, and
the AC kicks in. Yeah.
Or all these things that you just need to be aware that. Check for that background noise and.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's not distracting the broadcast.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's always good to get a different set of ears, maybe listening, maybe not every time, but occasionally have somebody listen for a little bit to your video and just maybe even shut the video off. Maybe you can do that. Just shut the video part off or don't look at the video and just listen and see what you can pick out, see what you can hear. And take it from there, because there's noises that come on, and some of them are very distracting and some of them aren't. But there may be some things, which brings the point. You're right. I got ahead of myself. Point number 5 kind of ties into this.
Yeah. So quiet the unwanted noise. I know at our house we redid our stairs, and they went from being very quiet because they were a carpeted stair to a very noisy stairs. There's no sneaking up or down stairs anymore.
Clunk, 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 clunk.
Yes. The each rung will, depending on where you step, will pop, as you put your weight on it. So not every one of them, but it's not great. They look great, but they don't sound great at all. So, I mean, a good example is if you have a wooden stage up front and people are walking, your pastor or others are walking across stage and the stage is creaking or things like that. There's things you can do to correct that. For me, we have we just got new AC system in our house. It's probably been a few years ago now, but one of the things that I did, since we put tile upstairs instead of carpeting, it gets really noisy, is I put a bunch of carpeting into the return area for the AC. And it seemed to make somewhat of a difference. So just padded that whole area with carpeting. And if I was to lay a rug down in front of where that return is, it probably also helped quite a bit. But
yeah, interesting. I used to have my office. I work out of my home, and my office was just a little bit east of me here in one of the other rooms, and it was right next to where the outside air conditioning unit was. And so it would kick in the summertime, it would kick in, and it was right next to the window in the corner of this house that we live in, and it just would annoy me. So when my son moved out, I went ahead and took his bedroom, and set up my office in here. And it makes a huge difference because I'm away from that AC unit. You can still hear it, but it's not as loud as it was. So there's things you can do, but as you were saying, Steve, get creative a little bit and see what you can do. Like I mentioned the earlier point, put some WD-40 or something on the door hinges, and because there are sounds that you could maybe work with. You were talking about noises, and I'm off track here a little bit, but my son used to say he could always hear when I was coming down the hallway, and we have carpet, and he could hear me because my ankles crack and pop. I have ankle injuries from playing basketball years ago, and they pop and crack when I walk anywhere. And he could always hear when he was little, he could always tell it was me walking down the hallway because anyhow, there's nothing I can do about that. They crack and pop.
And the other thing is, I mean, this is getting a little further into it, but something we experienced at our facility is we had a facility with just blank walls, large blank walls, that we did have carpeting, but the carpeting was one of those kind of indoor outdoor, really short, thin, or hard carpeting, and so the sound would just reverberate throughout the auditorium. And so they spend some time and put together just decorative panels on the wall to get the noise down.
Yeah, we did that where I was at too. We had similar situation. Our ceiling wasn't as high, but we had the walls that were bare, like you were saying, and so they put together some blocks, some squares with fabric on them. They looked really ugly. I felt like you could have done a little. I mean, you would put that much effort into it. You could have made it look a little nicer, but it did help. And so, yeah, you can do some creative things. There's soundproofing stuff. I used to have it here in the office when my other office, I put some soundproofing pads up. I used to do broadcasting, as some of you know, on radio. And we used to have a room that we did a lot of production in. Well, everything, even the live stuff. And we had a bunch of these, they look like big sponges almost. And you can get them anywhere. In fact, I was looking at somebody, Brady Shear did some kind of a deal on how to do a podcast, and he bought a bunch of them and was showing you can get them at Home Depot and stuff.
Right. My son's a broadcaster for an online game, and so it's kind of his passion, second career right now. So he's decked out his place with sound deadening and lighting, and gotten the real high end mics and
nice.
So he's kind of gone all out, and I guess it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So there's lots of things you can do. Let's wrap this up here. You can make a difference. Your audio really needs to be really good, and your video doesn't have to be as good. If you can have great video and great audio, great, more power to you. But make sure you spend some attention, put some time and energy in your audio. It will make a world of difference. And your people will appreciate people that listen to either your podcast or your video, your streaming video will thank you for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this podcast is brought to you by mychurchdaily.com. Easter's coming up, and if you would like to have something that would connect your people better with your church, you could be on Alexa's flash briefing. Alexa has a flash briefing that they have enabled. When I say Alexa, I'm talking about the Amazon Echo devices. There's many of them out there, different shapes and sizes. MyChurchDaily.com gives you the ability to do little 3 to 5 minute deals. You can do a little longer, but really 3 to 5 minute flash briefings that you can set up, record it, upload it to mychurchdaily.com. And we can get you set up so that your church members can get their flash briefing every morning if they want, and they can get up to date on things that are happening. In fact, we're probably going to do an article on that again next week. Just go to blog.streamingchurch.tv to see more about that. So check it out, mychurchdaily.com, free trial, 14-day free trial. If you need help, we're always here. It's full disclosure, right? It's us. We have this product. And so if you need help with it, we're here to help you every step of the way. All right, Steve, we're done here.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you for listening to or watching the Church Solutions podcast. We sure appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on another episode. Please take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you soon.